Okay, here we go. So, hi everybody, I'm Christine. This is Jim.
Hey,
And Jim's visiting from LA and staying with us, and I thought I'd take advantage of his presence and just kind of record our conversation and our meeting about the Love Boat Alumni Initiative. Anyway, so instead of talking about the strategy that we're going into right now, you and I can talk about that later.
okay.
Why don't you first, I'm going to want to interview you for like a longer podcast
Okay.
piece, because about like your background, growing up in Ohio,
Right.
your family background,
Okay.
and then how that all impacted you when you went on the Love Boat in Africa. So we'll have to do that at a separate time.
Right. Okay, that's
But
fine.
for now, maybe you could tell me about the other day I asked you, we were on that Zoom call and I asked you, like, why are you passionate about this? Why do you think other people are passionate about this? And it's complicated. It's many layers.
Yes.
Involved,
We've
but-
mentioned this before. Like, I think everyone that went on the trip, the Love Boat trip, has had it impacted their lives in some way. But for me, it was very profound because,
Yeah, why?
if it weren't for that trip, I wouldn't have taken that first leap to, trying to live in Asia. And I went to Taipei in 1994, and wow, it wasn't until 2023 that I've come back to the U.S. And from 1994, well, I came back for 3 years in between, but then I continued.
But Jim, let me back up a little bit. So, how did you end up going on the program to begin with?
It was really my parents, right? Like, I remember I was in college, my freshman year of college. I had just finished that, and then my parents said, "You're going to Taipei. You're going to Taiwan this summer." And I was like, "What? Like, what's going on?"
It's like the movie.
Right?
That movie.
And I really didn't have a choice in the matter. I wasn't, consulted. I wasn't given a choice, right? But they're saying, like, you're going to go on this program. It's the Gen10 program. But I wasn't very happy about that.
Oh, really?
My dad actually made the decision for me, and said, you're going to be going to Taiwan. And I just said, like, all right, reluctantly I went.
But what do you think do you know what their motivations were? Like, what made them want you to go?
I think it's just kind of like peer group pressure.
What?
I actually think because, like, my dad has a lot of, all his friends are Taiwanese American, like first generation. And some of his friends told him about the program. I think the price was very attractive because it was nothing. I think it was like
It was actually, I think it was $300.
$300.
My mom and I actually found her checkbook from 1991.
Okay, yeah.
It's like $300
for like a 6-week trip in Taipei, $300. Do we have to pay for airfare, or like I think we have to pay for airfare,
yeah.
right? But it was pretty much the cost of a plane ticket, $300. I mean, back then $300 was a lot.
Yeah.
But still, that was 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Room, board, food, right?
Yeah.
And then they kind of get in touch with our relatives.
Okay, now so why was it profound to you? Like, did you grow up with other
No.
Americans, Asian Americans?
I pretty much grew up in Ohio, in a town called Garrettsville, Ohio, which is now the same population as it was when I grew up. So about 2,600.
Yeah.
My father was the town doctor, right?
Oh.
So, and at that time in the 1970s, that's when the U.S. was really open for immigrants.
Yeah.
And they give us your professionals. And so my dad, being an aspiring doctor, he went to the U.S. because I think he went to Taipei Medical College, like Taipei HAN. And I think 60 or 70% of his classmates at that time ended up leaving Taiwan, like in the early 70s, right? So,
but going back to why do you think it was profound, the Love Boat, for you?
why do I think it was profound?
Yeah, like how did it Were you like, did you show up and going, oh my God, this is so crazy?
No, just because I really wasn't, I didn't know what to expect. I'd been to Taiwan before, and it was just on family trips with my parents to visit my relatives. But this was the one time that I went without my parents, and I met up with other people who were just like myself, right? Just kind of like, what is this place, Taiwan? And like they were going through the same emotions, like trying to understand what Taiwan is. But you're coming from a very, very Western standpoint, right? So like, they have squat toilets, their dogs running around, there's like kind of like run down. But then through that connection, right? When you're running this people,
run down.
Yeah, no, I mean just like going through this experience of like, because at that time Taiwan was like a developing country.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
But it was kind of fun because
squat
you had
toilets at Danjiang?
I mean, I remembered, yeah, we did. Yeah. And I remember like the squat toilets because I'd never seen that before, just going back to Taiwan, right?
But
yeah.
so why do you think that it was so impactful to people? Like, I guess the question is, why do you think people are interested in this whole alumni initiative?
Yeah. I mean, for me, and I think a lot of people with similar backgrounds, because we're like the second generation Taiwanese Chinese Americans, right? Because we really didn't grow up with the culture that our parents had, and then we're going back to where they kind of grew up, and you're seeing this, seeing how they lived and seeing like what could have been, right? If they had stayed there, that would have been like my life. And we're trying to figure out like our niche within this whole, your identity. So I think that had a profound effect.
The Chinese American, Taiwanese American identity.
Yeah.
A lot of people have talked about this, how you kind of grow up. We grew up in the States or Canada in the 70s and 80s. That was back then, especially if you were not in like heavily Asian population areas. We didn't have social media, so you just had no idea. But you always kind of knew that you didn't quite fit in.
Exactly.
Even though you feel like you fit in, you had friends, you lived your life, you joined.
But that's all you know.
Yeah,
right? And then you're just kind of getting your eyes opened to seeing like this whole new world.
Yeah.
And you're kind of meeting, I think, other people that are just like you. Really, like, oh my God, you're like myself. Like you grew up in Arkansas, you grew up in, Minnesota. Like, wow, this is kind of cool. So we have that shared background, and you're meeting these people for the first time, and you're discovering your roots for the first time, and you're trying to figure things out, because that's a really pivotal period of life for you.
Yes,
I mean, I think I was 17, 18. Like, no, I think, I was 17.
You couldn't have been 17.
No, I think I was 18 or 19. Yeah,
something like that.
18, 19 when I went to Taiwan in a Love Boat. And, you're, first year out of college. I mean, not first year out of college, first year of college.
Oh, yeah.
So everything's new, and you're just trying to figure out your identity. So a lot of these things just kind of like culminated. So like the time period.
Yes.
Where you were at that stage of life.
Yes.
Just being in Taiwan with other people who were just like yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And, it's kind of fun. It's discovery. I mean, your relatives were there too. So that was a big part. Because every single weekend I would go see my grandparents or my uncle and, eat with them because they didn't know who we were. Right. And they wanted to connect with us.
It's so funny to hear you say this, because those were the exact same words that I said to someone else that was recorded. Like we're all saying the almost identical
same thing. So I think, it's like
it's like an awakening of a part of you that you didn't realize existed, is that your Chinese Taiwanese side. You just didn't know it's there until you go to the local. You're like, oh my God.
And it's kind of almost like a 2 month, which is a long period of time.
Yes.
Crash course. What was it? 2 months?
Six months. 6 weeks.
6 weeks. Yeah, almost like 2 months. Crash course to Taiwanese culture, right? Yeah. And you're there with other people. You're there in Taipei. You're there with your relatives. So you're getting hit on so many different sides.
Yes, yes. It's social because you're meeting all these friends. First and foremost, it's social.
Right. It's
That alone brings people together, right?
Yeah.
You find people you like to hang out with.
exactly.
Then you realize it's the commonality in our shared experience growing up overseas, right? Or in the States, and then it's like you're suddenly introduced to your roots.
Yeah, it is kind
Right,
of
it's like your roots, and it's also then you're exposed to like this other side of your family, and the way you see your parents differently because now you realize, oh my gosh, we only knew them as our parents in
exactly.
the States.
Yeah.
And for me, like it's my mom and my other relatives that I've only known in the States and then later saw them in Taiwan. It's like they light up when they're in Taiwan.
Yeah.
They're a different person. They act differently, They're more, I don't know how to explain it. They're just come alive. And I mean, my mom is obviously, she's a hilarious person, but when she goes to Taiwan, it's almost like she's home again. You can feel it. They're home. They feel like they're home again.
Yeah.
So you see them differently. It's like, wow, this is weird. But then you go back to college, you graduate, and now you're thinking about your future.
Right.
So how did you decide when you graduated? First of all, what did you major in?
I was a psychology major. I had like cross-cultural psychology sort of a focus, and it was with Asian studies and Chinese studies. But after I graduated, I really didn't want to join the workforce right away. So I was like, let me just learn some Chinese because I didn't have that Chinese. Like we spoke Taiwanese at home. So,
do you speak Taiwanese?
So I speak Taiwanese. I actually was fluent in Taiwanese. That was my first language. But I think I lost it after, moving to the U.S. at age 10 months.
But you still understand?
I still speak Taiwanese with my parents. Okay. But now it's more Mandarin because it's much more fluent.
Yeah.
And then, so after graduation, I was like, let me learn some Chinese. So I went to Shida, NT, like National Taiwan Normal University. And back then they had this Mandarin Training Center. And that's...
Jim, I believe that was the entity that taught us at the Love Boat.
Okay, yeah.
Our study materials are from Shida. Yeah,
I didn't really study at all at Love Boat. Seriously, my Chinese was terrible. But we had, I had friends that were completely fluent. So you'd rely on those friends. And I could get by with Taiwanese, but I couldn't speak any Mandarin.
Yeah.
But after Love Boat, yes. So I went to study at Shida for a year, and that's when I met all of you guys. So that's when I met you, and I met all my friends during that period of time.
And then you just stayed.
Yeah, so I stayed there for 5 years, from 94 to 99.
Yeah.
Right, and then by after 5 years, I was like, well, I should probably go back to reality. Right?
There was that thought.
So everyone has that as an Asia, because Asia's like a playland. It's not real.
At the time.
Yes.
Now when people go to Asia to work, it's taken very seriously.
Yes.
But back then, our family and friends back home, that's one of the reasons why I started HeyChristine.com, that blog.
Right, yeah.
It was because, yes, I wanted to capture the fun, and I enjoy writing, but I wanted to show the people back home that we're actually doing some
fun stuff and exciting stuff.
Fun. It was cool. I mean, the jobs we had, the roles we played, management level positions, as you know, in Asia, it's much younger.
Yes.
Here, vice president of a company, you're 50, 60. There, you're 30. 30.
Right. So, I mean, they're just if you're just around. I remember, because I worked at this company called Actual Living English and World Family Disney. And, it was teaching English to Taiwan at that time. It was such a growing company that if you just hung out in the offices, I would just bring friends there and they just give you a job, right? Because there was such a need for it.
Well, to your point, back in those days, only in hindsight can you realize this, but that was the height when we were there around the 90s.
It was fun,
it was of Taiwan's economic miracle.
Yeah,
and
didn't
literally,
know that.
in Asia, well, I'm only now looking back at it now and reading up about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, no wonder it was so exciting, because basically you could get a job as long as you spoke decent Chinese. You could get a job in any of those multinational companies. Anyone that needed.
Yeah, I got a job at IBM with no Chinese ability, actually.
Yeah, I got a job at Citibank. Well, they were hiring us for our English skills, but as long as you were relatively intelligent, could communicate in Chinese enough that you could work with your coworkers. It was a crazy time. It was a crazy time, and anyway, we'll explore that separately. But we're kind of getting off topic because it's all interesting. But back to the alumni initiative. All this. So I think so. There's that nostalgia, right? Just the shared experience of having so much fun on Love Boat. But I think for some people, what I hear from so many people is they're looking at retirement. Some are already retired or semi-retired or kind of now thinking about what retirement is going to look like. And when they see this alumni initiative, it's like this feeling like, there's something here. We can do something with this, and it's meaningful. That's what it is that they're looking for something at this point meaningful to do with their lives. There is that.
No, I feel that very strongly just because, I don't feel that chapter of whatever I started with the Love Boat has closed yet.
Oh my gosh, that's beautiful.
And it's kind of like, you want to come back full circle, but when you're an alumni for a college, you have these alumni groups, and we had the reunion. I reconnected with some of my friends from the Love Boat, and you're just I'm just not done with that yet. You just have to I don't know what it is, but you kind of want to fulfill whatever you kind of started 30, 40 years ago.
Oh my God, Jim, yeah, this is somebody else said that. They feel like it's coming full circle. But what does that mean, coming back full circle? Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think it's the same feeling that people have when they go to their school alumni association reunions? I don't think it's the same.
It's not the same, but it's sort of the same, but it's a very shared experience that changed people profoundly. And then, for me, it affected my entire sort of life after college, right? And then you kind of want to give back in a way. I feel it's very, very similar to a lot of college and university. I really enjoyed my experience. I want to give back. It's I really enjoyed the Love Boat. I want to give back. But how do you do that for the next sort of generation? It seems, right? Or for future generations, because it had such an impactful, experience for you that you want to, I don't know, just expand upon it or just make it even better, right?
That is such an intangible feeling, Jim, and yet you kind of nailed it in a way. Although how that manifests itself is still to be determined. Right.
So you're just, I don't know where this journey is going to go, but at least I'm willing to kind of check it out, right? So let's try this and see where it goes.
Yeah, he said the exact same thing. It's you get a feeling like there's something to be done here.
Right. And as you get more and more people on board, right? You talk to some people, they're yeah, that's cool. Good luck. You get some people that'll be that's really cool. Let me see if I can help.
Yeah.
And you get some people that will jump right in there and let me kind of pave this pathway for you.
Yeah.
And the more people that you get on board, the more resources and assets that you'll have.
Yeah.
And they might have a better sort of way of paving this path too.
Yes.
So it's just important, I think, just to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And then who knows? Maybe because of this video, we're gonna have something that's gonna reach out to us and say this is what you should do, or this is what I think we should. I don't know.
Oh well, okay. Just let me clarify that point.
Okay.
I don't like to hear people who tell us this is what you should do. What I like to hear is this is what I can do to help you.
Yes.
Because for a while there, we were getting all kinds of ideas. You should do this.
Well,
hello.
You should help us.
We don't have the. We wish we could, but what can you do for your idea that you think is great? What can you do to launch that and run it or spearhead it? That's always, we need that. We can't. No organization can sustain with just a few people trying to do everything.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of the whole. I guess the secret sauce is everyone has that experience and they kind of want to do something with this group, and like people have different ideas of what they want to do with this group, but you just kind of let them run with it.
Exactly.
Right?
Secret sauce, Clifton coined that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Part of our vernacular.
Yes.
Because it is such an intangible, and it is what you said it is, but it's also other things. It's that connection. It's the desire to do something with it. It's the memories. It's the nostalgia. It's being able to bring some very seasoned and accomplished professionals together and use our skills.
Yeah. One of the biggest challenges is going to be defining what that secret sauce is for each group within the Love Boat, because you're going to have your nostalgia.
Yeah, people just want to see each other and have reunions.
You're going to have like the people that like, let's revive this thing for the future. You're going to have like people that like,
we want our kids to go.
Yeah, let's promote Taiwan. Or,
yes.
Let's do something travel, and that's great. But you just need people to like kind of spearhead each one of these sort of like initiatives.
Ideas, yeah.
Right. But I think what we should do is just get these people together to know that this this organization sort of exists, and we want to kind of like, that's the first step, just getting people, involved.
Yes, and setting up the infrastructure.
Yes, setting up the infrastructure, like getting them back.
Yeah.
Like I even talked to my sister, and she hasn't thought about Love Boat for like a long time.
Right.
She went in '93. Right, and she sort of got it. She's kind of like standing on like the on the border, but I mean, I could probably reel her back in too.
Yeah,
she has to have like a reason.
Like any alumni group, you're going to have varying degrees of interest and passion, right? Mm-hmm. But because there's more than 10,000 people.
Yeah.
It's actually, somebody was saying it's closer to 18,000 people, but we have to get the right numbers. That's what I should ask ACAC to find this out for us at my meeting.
I mean, if you only get like 5% of that,
that's huge.
That's huge.
That's enough to get. Yeah. That's enough to get stuff done. So there's
something there.
Yes. Yes. So Okay. So why don't we? That's cool.
Pretty good. Yeah.
So let me end it here, and then let's start a different one, because I want to talk to you, and then also share it with others about the content of that video. The video.
Oh, the video.
Yeah. Okay. Let me